That's a single-family home.
Well, it's still going to be a single-family home. It's going to be mixed use. The home, the residence is still going to be.
And that ain't.
They're doing a buffer on 3 sides, but they're not doing it on the west.
There's too much on it.
Well, I agree.
That one.
They're overdeveloping for sure. I mean, we can talk after the meeting. Curtis wanted something from you, and I'm just saying, I've been doing this. I haven't been requiring buffer with white uses.
We're going to need to.
Okay.
To approve both because I only have one agenda item. I didn't create two items.
We'll be in just a second. Ready? Good morning. Welcome to the June 6th Walton County Technical Review Committee meeting. I think our first item of business, we have minutes from May 2nd and minutes from May 16th to approve. Do we have any corrections to either of those meeting minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion.
Yeah, how about a motion? Let's start with that. A motion to approve, please.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. The minutes for these two meetings are approved. Under announcements, we have 3 requests for continuances this morning, which are our first 3 agenda items. The Inlet Beach Wastewater Treatment System is requesting to continue. They have proposed a change in future land use category, and that item needs to be re-reviewed by this committee. So it will be continued until July 11th. If we could have a motion to that effect.
Motion to continue to July 11th.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will be continued to the July 11 Technical Review Committee at 8:30 here at the South Walton Annex. The next item is the Bear Creek Phase 3. We have a request to continue to July 11th.
people wait for some time.
We have a motion to continue to July 11th for the Bear Creek Phase 3.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue the Bear Creek Phase 3 project to the July 11th Technical Review Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. Next item is the Bellamy. We have a request to continue from the parties to continue their negotiation to the July 11th Technical Review Committee meeting at 8:30 in this room. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will be continued to the July 11th Technical Review Committee meeting at 8:30 in the morning in this room. That brings us to item number 4, the 30A Hokulia. Hopefully I pronounced that right. It's a request approved by development order. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. And Tim, can you briefly introduce this one for us?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This is a minor development order application requesting approval to construct an approximately 814 square foot commercial addition to an existing single-family residence on 0.28 acres of future land use VMU. It's located at 4057 East County Road 30A in Santa Rosa Beach. There was quite a number of comments. There was comments from planning, environmental, and engineering. I did get fire comments and I forwarded them to the applicant yesterday. So I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Curtis Smith, Nautilus Civil Engineers. Got a couple of questions here, and one pretty big one. The first one was no environmental site assessment provided. This was, is Aaron, I'm not sure who was reviewing that. Looks like Aaron's not here. This was an existing residential lot, maintained as an existing residential lot, groomed and landscaped. Typically, we provide a letter, which we did on that, saying that this development and everything surrounding it has been fully developed and maintained, and we typically don't provide new ESAs for those. So I was just trying to check with the environmental reviewer on whether they did in fact need a new ESA for that project site.
I spoke to Aaron about this yesterday. The reason he made that comment is because the Florida master site file shows this area as some archaeological assets. So I think he only needs you to address that, not a full EA, not all the other stuff, just the archaeological part of it.
Okay.
He announces that hazardous materials present on the site. That's only part of the environmental assessment.
But because this is a previously disturbed site, I don't think he's going to require that. I mean, I'll follow up on that, but he indicated to me yesterday the only issue was the archaeological portion of it.
Do you know if this site's ever been used for any other purpose?
I do not.
So, as far as I know, it was developed as single-family residential in the 80s, and it's been a single-family residential lot since then. Since then, commercial and residential has been developed all around it.
We'll defer to Aaron's comments on that.
The only other really major comment we had here, and this is going to come up on a future project I've got on this agenda. Engineering review stated that landscape buffer located at the perimeter development, specifically the west boundary, must be provided. I know this has been the subject of some interpretation confusion over the years, but I thought coming into this one we had a clear understanding, and we brought this up in the pre-application meeting, and the comment came in, and I'm not really clear on how we go here. This is a very small lot, and the project didn't work at all if we provided a commercial-to-commercial buffer here. So we talked about it in the pre-app meeting, agreed that it wasn't required on that side, went forward, and now it came up as a comment. So if this is if we do have to provide a commercial buffer here, the project dies.
Well, quite honestly, this looks like 15 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag. I didn't see any parking for the residential component. Are we still going to be a resident?
Yes, it is. It's there is sufficient parking for both of those to meet the requirements. It may not have been properly noted on the site data table. There are 5 parking spaces, 4 required for the commercial. Of course, this is 30A, so the rear parking would be subject to a 25% reduction. So we do meet the parking requirements.
But you can't reduce residential parking.
That's correct, but if we reduce the commercial parking, that reduces to 3, and
Residential parking.
there will be 2 required for residential. We have 5 total.
So we're putting in business with 3 parking spaces?
That is correct. It's a very small walk-in. It's a tiny little walk-in ice cream shop. So to meet the requirements of parking for that, 3 are all that are going to be required. Really, this project is intended mostly for foot traffic and bicycle traffic, but the 3 parking spaces that are required are provided.
I have some concerns about whether or not we're going to be able to meet all the requirements of what we're trying to do here, given the size of the property. My recommendation would be to do this and see what we have.
Are we going to set up a meeting to discuss?
It may not have been recognized in the past, we got to recognize it now.
Okay. Yeah,
I'd recommend the motion.
Can I add one thing, Mac? Looking at this, we didn't see an ADA accessible path to the commercial building, so that would probably need something that would need to be looked at. We see you have the ADA spot, but we don't see how you can access the commercial from that spot.
So the pavement materials we're using is recycled crushed concrete, which when done properly, that material can meet the ADA requirements.
But that would reduce your drive aisle.
Correct. Which the path should be able to use the drive aisle, if I'm not mistaken, the way ADA reads.
I think that's something we should look at, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're going to put someone in a wheelchair in the drive aisle.
We cross drive aisles all the time on Walmarts and Targets
Crossing
and
them
things.
is one thing, but this doesn't look like it's going to cross it. It looks like it's going to parallel it. Have any other questions or comments? Do we have any fire comments, Sammy? on
Yes,
this one?
I submitted them. Curtis, we'll we'll need to demonstrate how we're going to get some emergency equipment.
Yeah, we talked about this one a while back, and I remember we talked about the 150-foot access. This is actually about 144 feet to the back of the parking. So we were still within your 150-foot mark.
Okay, I'm gonna have to remeasure because I was under the impression it was further than that.
Yeah, I can provide a dimension
Okay.
on the plan for that. I guess we talked about continuing, but back to the original question that came up, it was the landscape buffer for commercial to commercial.
Mac, there's a, in policy L110-3 clearly says that in the comp plan that a minimum of 10 feet buffer has to be applied for something that's higher density than the surrounding areas.
Yes, I know we're proposing some changes in buffers and setbacks and those kinds of things, that those have not been adopted by the commission, so we got to live with the code we got.
Correct.
And I think that is going to override your lack of a buffer there.
The qualifier about the difference in intensities was kind of the question. Does that qualifier mean that commercial to commercial of similar intensities?
I think we're going to have some further discussion on this project. There are too many open questions to move this forward.
Okay. I'd be glad to meet with you guys and do that.
Can I have a motion to continue?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this item to the July 11 Technical Review Committee meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is continued to July 11. Thank you, Curtis. This moves us to number 5, cottages at 393 Phase 3 Pool Facility. Request approved by development order, a minor development reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, could you introduce this project for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a minor development order application requesting approval to modify a phase line, add a security gate, and construct a pool amenity to include a bathhouse and covered pavilion on .33 acres with future land use of small neighborhood. It's located on the west side of County Road 393 South, north of Cypress Pond Road, and south of Edgewood Terrace. There were comments from planning and engineering. Not sure, did you get comments out on this one, Sammy?
Looks like it. Looks like there's comments in here.
Yes, sorry. Need to read, huh? So I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning, Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. We received these comments a week or more ago, and we're in the process of responding to them. I don't have any questions or discussion on them. They're all pretty straightforward, and I expect that we'll have these back to the planning department by first part of next week. So unless anyone on the panel had any discussion, on my way to getting these back to you.
Has the plan been submitted to the Scandinavian County for review? Full plans?
That is Cox Pool. That is pursuing that permit. I don't know that they have been submitted yet. I think they're getting their development order first, and then they're prepared to submit that to the health department and other agencies.
This proposed gate meets the driveway throat
It does.
setback.
The throat distance.
Dean, was the sidewalk bought out on this project previously, or are they proposing to construct that along 393?
There's a multi-use path going in on 393.
There is, I know, that's why I was
Yeah.
asking.
We have requested of Public Works, those driveway plans, the sidewalk plans. And they have a concept, but they don't have finished, completed plans, so I think they're reluctant to share those with us, but we do know we're going to need to coordinate our sidewalk with, and also our landscape and other things with that multi-use path that's coming in. So we've talked to Charlie and Chance over at Public Works, but I think they're waiting to have a final plan before they send us something, so we don't get in a problem with having the wrong plans or plan changes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Just-
Yeah, we definitely don't want to put a sidewalk in and tear it out.
Tear it out.
Right. Yeah.
Got a comment requiring a landscape plan?
I'm quite certain we had a landscape plan included with our set. I didn't see any comments on.
It's in the engineering comments. Please provide a landscape plan.
Yeah, I didn't see a landscape plan, and it may be that we didn't have it delivered. It wasn't in my package, but
Okay.
if you have one, just,
Well, I know we actually redesigned the project because there's a 20-foot landscape buffer because 393 is now scenic corridor. So if you need to see it, we'll send it over to you. But I know the landscape plan and the landscape buffer along 393 was a design consideration in this.
Dean, if you would, and please ensure that we get to review the gate when it gets down to that point.
Okay. Sammy, I can email that over to you. I know whenever we were designing that gate, the owner wanted it, closer to the road, but we had that throat distance consideration. But I'll send that over to you so you can get a look at it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
See any problem meeting any of the comments that are listed in the report?
No. Longest lead item was the survey, and we got field work done this week, and we expect to have it drawn up, like I say, first part of next week.
Any more questions from the Dodge on this project? This is a minor development order, which means it will not go to the Planning Commission and the County Commission. And subject to this board's recommendation, once the comments are satisfied, it will go to the development order. So we'll take this opportunity to open up a public hearing and take any comments on any aspect of this proposed project from any member of the audience that wishes to speak. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, recommend approving the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues/comments and moving it to the development order stage.
Thank you, Tim. We have a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
so moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This motion carries. This project will move to development order subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. That brings us to number 6. The Chad Holly Residential, request approved by minor development order. This has also been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you will introduce the project for us.
Yes, thank you. This is a minor development order application requesting approval to develop a 10-lot single-family residential subdivision on 2.56 acres with the future land use of Town Center 1. It's located at 591 Chad Holly Road in Santa Rosa Beach. We've got comments from planning, engineering, and fire. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning, Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. All the comments are straightforward. We're preparing a response. The only question that I have is, this being a single-family subdivision, the two different comments refer to landscape plans, and we have not done those in the past on subdivisions. Is that because of the location of this, or is...
Excuse me? What was the comment?
The comment was landscaping plans. There's a requirement. Is there a requirement for landscape plans on a subdivision?
Absolutely there is.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the perimeter landscape buffer at a minimum.
We've identified buffers in the past, but it said landscaping plan. We just recently did a subdivision and we didn't prepare landscaping plans other than the buffering criteria. That's why I was asking, is there a specific landscape plan that you want to see plantings, trees in the right-of-ways, or?
It needs to meet the landscaping requirements of Chapter 5. I mean, we'll give you credit for existing native vegetation that would satisfy those requirements, but we need to see that on landscape plan.
Okay, thank you.
So you get credit for what's already there.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you got to install it.
Okay.
I mean, this is in Town Center 1. Do we have a second use other than a residential subdivision?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
I don't see how we can approve this. It's in a mixed-use category.
First time this has been brought up, it didn't come up from pre-app, and I didn't see that as a comment in here.
Every Town Center 1 project we've approved in the last 3 years has had a mixed-use component. It's been a requirement. And we're going to have one here of some kind. We'll be happy to discuss it further with you, but without a mixed-use requirement, we can't move it forward.
Is that in the comments here, or is that?
I don't know that that's in the comments, but that's a comment from the director. During this meeting, we should have those in the comments, but if we don't, we're going to have to add them.
It's not anything that I have.
We have no proposed trails or anything connecting to the Town Center 1 Master Plan Trail Network. That could potentially be a use that could be qualified. But we need to look at the Town Center 1 Master Plan. If we haven't looked at that, then we certainly can't move this forward.
Okay. Again, it wasn't in my comments, so I don't have a response for you. You're catching me cold.
Well, let's continue this one to next month, and we'll get together and see what we can do to meet that requirement.
Okay.
And without that requirement being met, my recommended motion is that we continue this to next month. We have a motion at the dais.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the July 11th meeting. We'll need to meet and figure out how we're going to get this one consistent with the plan.
Okay, thank you.
That brings us to item number 7, the Southern Pines plat. Requested approved by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to plat 36 single-family lots on 9.98 acres with the future land use of LDR, located on the east side of Millie Drive, north of Chet Holly Road, and south of East Nursery Road. We have quite a few comments from planning and public works, and the county surveyor and the floodplain manager. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good day, Shannon Clatchy, Rare Earth. We are currently addressing those comments as we speak, and we anticipate having those things rectified shortly and redelivered to the county.
Has the homeowner association entity been created?
At this point, I'm not exactly sure, but I will look into that. I want to make contact with our owners now, say in the next day or two, just to confirm, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, do we have covenants and restrictions submitted with this application? Proposed covenants?
No, sir.
Mac,
No, we
one of the
don't.
biggest issues with this is the development order approved 0.77 acres of recreation, and because of that, no recreation plat fee was required because they're providing recreation. However, this plat does not show any recreation anywhere on it. So that's probably the biggest concern from our point of view.
Yes.
Like, I can confirm that with the engineer record, just to be sure. I want to say it was probably just an oversight on the drafting side to produce the plat.
Yeah, and that recreation has got to be open to the public.
Yes, sir. I will have to make sure the recreation is well supported on the document.
Mac, I don't see my comments on here, so I would ask that in the event that I have not reviewed it, give me ample time to review, but I feel confident that I did submit those.
Shannon, see any issues with any other item in the staff report?
No, sir, I do not.
We do have a bunch of comments. Tim, what's your recommended motion?
Well, I think the recreation is it is a big deal, not kind of a big deal. So until we can get that sorted out, I have on the staff report to move it forward, but I think we should probably continue it. The rest of the comments I think are pretty minor and aren't deal breakers, but since their development order indicates they don't have to pay the recreation plat fee because they're providing recreation, I think we should probably continue this until we see that on the plat.
Okay. You good with that, Shannon?
Well, I would say is the recreational fee, if it's the recreational illustration on the plat, and that's what I believe we're talking about, right, Tim?
Well, the problem is if you don't provide it, they say, okay, we'll just buy it out, we'll pay the fee. Well, then you're going to have to amend your development order because the development order shows that you're providing recreation, so that's why it's a big deal.
Well, I'd say I think it's an illustration, say, problem on the plat, the preliminary plat will be delivered, so.
Could you speak into the microphone? I can't quite hear you, I'm sorry.
I believe it's just an illustration, a lack of an illustration on the plat itself, the preliminary plat, and I believe it can be easily rectified with, basically we're going through some drafting procedures and get it set forth.
What if we do this? What if we conditionally move this forward, subject to satisfaction of all these comments until the project manager is satisfied that it can move forward?
That's splendid.
Because that primarily is a planning comment. I would be comfortable with that. You want to give us some recommended motion, Tim?
Sure. Recommend approving the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues, comments, and move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
We have a recommended motion. This will get a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners, but we'll take this opportunity to entertain any technical comments or questions related to compliance with Land Development Code or Florida Statute Chapter 177 at this time. Anybody in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this particular project? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Make a motion to conditionally approve and move to BCC.
We have a recommended motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item will move forward conditionally, subject to satisfaction of the outstanding comments.
Thank you. Good day.
This brings us to item number 8, the Alice Beach lots Q11 through Q13 replat. Request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you could introduce that for us briefly.
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to replat 3 existing lots into 2 lots in Block Q on .14 acres with the future land use of T&D. It's located on the west side of Kaliza Lane, north of None Such Way, and south of North Castle Harbor Drive. So this is pretty straightforward. They're wanting to turn 3 lots into 2 lots. There were some minor planning comments and a comment from the county surveyor, but nothing to hold it up. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning. I'm David Smith with Interlight Engineering, and we have reviewed the staff report. I agree with Tim. The comments are minor, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the dais? This item will receive a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners. Once it's scheduled for that, we'll take the opportunity now to ask if there are any public questions or comments related to compliance with the Land Development Code, the Development Order, or Chapter 177 of Florida statutes on this particular case. Seeing none, we'll move forward with a recommended motion. Tim?
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues / comments and move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, we have a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item will move forward to Board of County Commissioners subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. And that moves us to item number 9, the Alice Beach Town Center Buildings 3 and 4 replat. Request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, could you briefly introduce it?
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to replat 8 existing lots into 1 lot in Alice Beach Town Center on .41 acres with the future land use of T&D. Located on the north side of County Road 38, east of Governor's Court and west of North Somerset Street. There's some minor planning comments. There's a comment from engineering, comments from the county surveyor. From the planning side, there's just the issue of the development order on this project has not been issued yet, so the project will not be able to be advertised for the county commission until the DO is issued. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning. David Smith with Interlight Engineering again, and we have reviewed the comments and understand Tim's comment on the development order, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Plat application consistent with the development order that's pending?
That's correct.
Yes, they're just wanting to make, there's going to be, what, 2 buildings on here, right?
That's correct.
But they want to make it 1 lot, so it'll be 1 platted lot for this. It's a mixed-use retail on the bottom, condominiums above.
Okay. Any questions from the dais? Do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues/comments and move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners with the caveat that we won't actually advertise it until the DO is issued.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. This item will have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners, but we'll take the opportunity to entertain any technical questions or comments related to compliance with Chapter 177 of the Land Development Code and this development order. Anyone wish to make a comment about this particular project? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move this case forward, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments and the issuance of the development order. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item will move forward to the Board of County Commissioners, subject to those conditions. That brings us to item number 10, the Alice Beach Phase 2A, lots T0 through T4 plat, and request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to plat 5 residential lots in Block T on .58 acres with the future land use of T&D. Project's located on the west side of North Castle Drive, south of None Such Way.
Thank you, Tim.
There's a minor, typo in the title. It's not Beach Block T. It's Alice Beach Block T. Very minor planning comments. Engineering had a comment. There was an error in the application. The application said 4 lots, but it's actually platting 5 lots, 0 through 4. There was a comment, and there was also a comment from the county surveyor. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
David Smith with Interlight Engineering again, and the comments are minor, and we have no questions, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, David. Any questions from the dais on this case?
Could I get some clarification? I'm just curious on that drainage note. Is that required in Alice Beach? I'm just curious. That's why I put it on there. You've got a drainage note on the plat, but since it's a planned development, I was just curious. Because I made that on several, but I didn't know if it was applicable or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a recommended motion?
Yeah, recommend approving the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues/comments and move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Tim. We have a recommended motion. This will have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners. However, at this time, we'll entertain any questions, technical questions or technical comments related to compliance with the development order, Chapter 177 of Florida Statutes or the Land Development Code. Anyone wishing to ask a question or make a comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the motion at the dais. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward to County Commission, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. And that brings us to item number 11, which is the Alice Beach Block AA plat. Request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. And Tim, if you could briefly introduce this one for us.
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to plat 8 residential lots in Block AA on 1.22 acres with the future land use of T&D. It's located on the south side of South McGee Drive, east of Sea Star Court. We had some minor planning comments and some comments from the county surveyor. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
So I'm David Smith with Interline Engineering, and we have reviewed the staff report and comments from minors, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you, David. Do we have any questions from the dais? Seeing none, do we have a recommended motion, Tim?
Yes, recommend approving the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues/comments and moving forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Tim. Since this, we'll have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners, we'll take the opportunity to entertain any technical questions or comments related to compliance with the development order, land development code, or Chapter 177 of Florida statutes on this particular case. Does anyone in the audience wish to make a comment on this item at this time?
Is this on the north or south?
Could you come to the podium, please?
Eddie Mitchell. Question is this project on the north or south side of 38?
I believe it's on the north side of 38.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or comments from our audience? Seeing none, we'll move forward with a motion at the dais. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item will move forward to Board of County Commissioners, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments. That brings us to item number 12, also at Alice Beach. Alice Beach Phase 4, lots Z1 through Z9 and Z21. This is a request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to plat 10 single-family residential lots in Block Z on 1.69 acres with the future land use of T&D. It's located on the north side of West LaGarza Lane, east of Fondville Court, and south of South McGee Drive. Actually, this is located immediately south of Block AA, the one we just finished. We have some minor planning comments, a comment from engineering, and some comments from the county surveyor. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
I'm David Smith with Interline Engineering, and we have reviewed the staff report, and the comments are minor, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, David. And as Tim mentioned, this item is also north of County Road 38.
Yes, it is.
Do we have any questions at the dais? Hearing none, do we have a recommended motion, Tim?
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues/comments and moving forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Tim. Since this will have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners, we'll take the opportunity to entertain any technical questions or technical comments related to this application, its compliance with Development Order, Land Development Code, or Chapter 177 of Florida statutes. Anyone wishing to make a comment on this particular item at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the motion at the dais. Do we have a motion at the dais? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is recommended for approval and will move forward to the Board of County Commissioners subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. And that brings us to item number 13, the Caillou PUD, the Strand Plats, request to approve a final plat. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a plat application requesting approval to plat 12 townhomes and a 2,839 square foot pool amenity on 2.22 acres with the future land use of neighborhood infill. It's located on the south side of County Road 38, east of Watersound Parkway South and west of Sea Garden Street. We've got some planning comments, engineering comments, and comment from the county surveyor. One comment that we may need clarification is about phasing the project. We can see if the applicant has some questions with that. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay. David Smith with Interlight Engineering, and we'll discuss that comment with Tim, okay, outside of this meeting regarding phasing the project. We understand the comment, and all the other comments appear to be minor, so we would respectfully request to move forward and be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
I have a particular question about the 10-foot beach access easement that appears to lay on top of the required 10-foot landscape buffer.
Yeah, Rick Borst, agent for the project. That 10-foot is a temporary access easement. Right now, the May family still has their residence that's on that parcel. So while we do the improvements, that 10-foot access allows them a roadway to access their home. Through the platting process, once we plat, the mechanics of that easement, it becomes null and void and gets removed. And then the main Kaya Beach Avenue becomes then the ingress-egress for that plat. And that then just becomes a landscape buffer that will then, at that point, improve to a landscape buffer.
Is that 10-foot shown on this preliminary plat?
The beach access?
Yeah.
It is not.
Okay.
Because as Rick stated, it would be relocated in the future, so we did not show it.
See any concern with any of the other comments?
There's not. We'll discuss the one regarding the phasing of the development order with Tim, but all the other comments are minor.
Okay. Any other questions at the dais? Tim, do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues / comments and move forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Tim. As this will have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners, we'll take the opportunity to entertain any technical questions or technical comments related to compliance with the development order, compliance with the Land Development Code process, or Chapter 177 of Florida statutes. Anyone wish to make a comment or ask a question of a technical nature at this time? Mr. Mitchell.
I guess one of the things, I just want to be sure to stay on top of this because my property is next door to it. And I guess Kaya was getting the Muse approved here a few weeks ago or a month ago. And in doing so, they had the address of the project that we're talking about right now. They had the address, they had the mailing address, they had the, and they were approving something on the north side of the road, but all the information was something on the south side of the road. And I just want to make sure that, you know, not only myself, but everybody in the meeting here is aware that, you know, I want to stay on top of what's going on there. Or you're talking about the easement that's on the east side of this property, which the Strand specifically calls for it to be on the west side of the property. The deed, when Kaya bought the property from the Mays, they bought it in two separate pieces. They bought a 10-foot easement on the east side of the property, which is, you know, for access, whatever, contrary to the Strand. The Strand shows the access being on the west side. So, I mean, it's not only a fact that is being used for that. It's specifically deeded for that. And if for some reason they decided not to buy the property to the west of that easement, then they would end up with a 10-foot piece of property running down to the beach. And I'm very concerned about, I just want to feel somebody to make me comfortable about what's going on here from a legal standpoint. Other than that, I just want to be sure that everything's done according to the strand that was approved, which back in July 2017, I guess.
Yes, sir. Would the applicant like to respond to the easement question?
Yes, I would. Actually, Mr. Mitchell is incorrect. It was a single purchase of 2.2 acres. Sitting on top of that 2.2 acres is that 10-foot temporary easement that runs on the east side of the parcel. So it was actually one purchase of the entire parcel.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, did that answer your question?
No, I didn't understand that.
Could you come back to the podium so we could get all the testimony on the record?
The 2.2 acres was purchased as in its entirety. As part of that purchase, the 10-foot easement on the east side, that temporary easement, then was recorded. So it wasn't two separate purchases. And again, the mechanics of that easement becomes null and void at the time of platting when Kaya Beach Lane is then platted as ingress egress for that lot. So that 10-foot temporary easement then dissolves and becomes our landscape buffer.
And I can understand why you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But in me looking at the way the property was bought, you paid so much money down, and that money you paid down, it was a $21 million purchase, and you paid about $4 million or so. That paid for that 10-foot easement. It didn't pay for the other. The other, I guess, is on credit or whatever. So I just want to go on the record of what I see. I see that a 10-foot easement has been bought, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And if for some reason Kaya decided not to develop the property, or decided to sell or whatever, I want everybody to understand, I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I do know that in looking at it, they paid for that 10-foot easement, not for the whole property. The whole property was bought as $21 million, according to the county records. But maybe you can explain what I'm talking about.
Well, the details of the purchase are confidential, so I won't discuss that. What I will discuss is make it just very, very direct and very simple. It was one acquisition of 2.2 acres. What was put down as a down payment or what's been recorded, it was purchased for $21 million. The purchase is confidential, but we purchased the entire 2.2 acres.
Yes, Mr. Mitchell, we're not concerned with how the property is financed. That's completely a private matter. What we're concerned about is who has title to the property and whether or not they're authorized to apply for a development order and subsequently apply for a final plat. As I understand it, this 10-foot easement is a temporary access that will be extinguished once this final plat is approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
And that's the way I understand it. But the point I'm making is if something happens down the road and they end up owning a 10-foot easement, I want to make sure that I have legal means to say that that's distinguished or whatever, because it doesn't meet the strand.
I understand your concern, but I don't think it's a well-founded concern at this point, based on what we see from this particular development.
Basically, I guess what I'm going to put it on the record.
I'm sorry?
I guess I'm just putting it on the record.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Do we have any other technical questions or comments from any member of the audience? Yes, sir.
My name is David Smith, and my question is the whole area, is that going to be a commercial?
No, sir.
Okay, will they be having a kitchen or anything in it?
I don't believe it will.
We definitely know that. Okay.
I mean, we have a development order that's already been approved on this, so at this point, we're not relitigating what that development order contains. We're merely making sure that the proposed plat is consistent with that development order. But that decision has already been made.
Okay.
About those details.
Okay, as far as the setbacks on this parcel, there's a question about 250-foot setback or not, because at the Board of Zoning Adjustment hearing, there was a ethics violation.
No, sir, that does not relate to this particular project or the case that was before the one that you're describing. There were two items on that agenda. The ethics violation did not relate to this particular project. It related to the next one on that agenda.
Can Sydney Noyes address that?
Can she address what?
The letter that was sent questioning that.
The ethics complaint?
Yes.
That has been resolved. And it does not relate to this particular project. It related to the Seagrove Market project.
The Seagrove Market project was never heard.
Exactly. That's correct. Because the applicant did not apply for that appeal under the correct ownership entity. So it could not be heard. But in this particular case, what the Board of Adjustment did find was they overturned that 250-foot requirement on this particular project. The project subsequently downsized their application, so it wasn't an issue anyway. They won at the Board of Adjustment, but did not affect this project. This is not considered a commercial use amenity. It's an amenity for the PUD. It's not a separate commercial use.
The house that's being destroyed on the property is a single-story house. And in new infill development south of 30A, that is adjacent to a single-family resident, must set back an additional 10 feet for each story greater than that of the existing. Is that being done?
They're accommodating the requirements of the Land Development Code. And this has already been approved in a development order. The appeal period for that particular development order has expired. We're merely making sure that the plat complies with that development order at this stage. We're not approving any new uses.
What is the height, though?
I don't know, but it's not a subject of this application this morning. We can certainly provide you with that application. Well, actually, you can look at it online through our Citizen Serve software. You can see all the documents related to the development order, including all the plans, height, etc.
Okay, thank you.
They're available. Do we have any technical questions or comments related to compliance with development order, Land Development Code, or Chapter 177 for this plat application? David, would you care to respond to any of the questions for the convenience of the...
I think as far as the ethics complaint, I thought you were very clear and you answered all the questions. I have nothing further to add unless you would like me to.
Could you speak to the height question?
The height is going to be consistent with the approved development order. I know the Jenkins Engineering was the engineer of record, and they went through, like you said, having to meet the land development code from a height standpoint, and we're platting consistent with that approved development order.
Thank you. Any further questions or technical comments related to this item? Seeing none, do we have a recommended motion? We have a motion at the dais.
Motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Likewise. Seeing none, this item is recommended for approval and will be scheduled for Board of County Commissioners, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 14, this is the Louis expansion. Request approved by final order. It's a major development, been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
Yes, thank you. This is a major development order application requesting approval for a 1,247 square foot expansion of the existing restaurant, a 4,365 square foot office building, and a 6-unit apartment building on 2.078 acres with the future land use of VMU. It's located on the west side of Musset Bayou Road, north of US Highway 98, and south of Water Oaks Loop. There are planning, engineering, and there's one comment from fire. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning, John Nash with O'Connell & Associates Consulting Engineers. We reviewed the comments, talked to Tim about them. They're relatively minor. We think we can address those in a speedy fashion. If y'all have any questions for me, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
Do we have landscape plan?
We do. The question regarding landscape plan is some details of the existing landscaping in the scenic corridor landscape buffer. I've spoken to Tim about it. We're going to look at it from a DRB standpoint.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. The question, there is a landscape plan. The question regarding whether the landscape details are provided are regarding the existing 25-foot scenic corridor landscape buffer that's currently vegetated. And I've spoken with Tim about it. We need to get together on the details of what's in that buffer and determine whether some alterations need to be made in that buffer. But I think we can handle that through the DRB process. The plan with the landscape buffer provides a 10-foot perimeter landscape buffer, and the scenic corridor buffer was there from the original development order. But like I said, they're relatively minor. We may have to provide a DRB deviation request, depending on what happens when we discuss that particular issue. But from a land development code standpoint, I don't see any issues other than the scenic corridor part.
He's referring to the plants themselves in that buffer. They provided landscaping for the remainder of the project, but they didn't provide a landscape plan for the scenic corridor buffer.
Yeah, we showed the existing landscaping if it's in the buffer, but we didn't detail exactly what's in there and what the spacing is and those things, and we can provide that information.
I think the DRB is going to want to see that once we get to that stage. Has this been scheduled for DRB yet?
No, there are outstanding scenic corridor comments, so we won't schedule it until those comments have been addressed.
Okay.
John, is there going to be individual maintenance entities for the stormwater systems for each use?
They'll all be the same entity.
Okay.
But we'll provide that on the plan for you.
Okay, this is a major development. It'll have a public hearing at the, actually, Design Review Board, Board of County Commissioners, and the Planning Commission before Board of County Commissioners. We'll take the opportunity to entertain any technical questions or comments from any member of the audience related to this particular application. Anyone have a technical question or comment at this time? Seeing none, Tim, do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, I don't see any deal breakers in the comments, so recommend approving the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues / comments and move it forward to the Design Review Board.
Okay, we have a recommended motion. We have a motion of the dais.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this motion is carried. This item will move forward to the Design Review Board, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to item number 15, the PCH office building. Request to approve by development order. Minor development reviewed by Bob Baranti. Bob, could you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a minor development order application submitted by W. Curtis Smith on behalf of Peach Creek Holdings LLC, requesting of approval to construct 3,250 square feet of two-story office building on .29 cluster 9 acres. The project is located at 45 Marie Drive. The current future land use is village mixed use, and the parcel numbers are identified on your report. Basically, there are some major comments that have been made by Public Work Engineering that I received yesterday that are not your report. I submitted them to Curtis. Also, there is a northern buffer issue, just like in Curtis's previous one. All the other comments seem to be addressable in the resubmittal. If there's no questions for me at this time, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Curtis Smith, Model Civil Engineers. Also have with me Alan Barnes from Peach Creek Holdings. I think pretty much all the comments are addressable. One of the main things we've been talking about with fire was the fire hydrant. I'm also talking about showing some routings to show the truck turnaround. We've been in discussion with regional utilities. This was a public works comment also. Regional utilities doesn't currently have service in that area. Although it is across 98 from regional utilities office, they don't have a line over there. So it would require a main extension from the south side of 98 or roughly 800 foot, 750, 800 foot from the west down 98. So we're actually in talks with them now. We currently have septic and a potable water well proposed on the development, which has been proven to be a little bit challenging. So we're in talks with regional about possibly extending those mains, which would take care of the fire hydrant. They've actually said they will build the hydrant themselves if we would do the mains. So that's in talks. Now, we also, when I was talking to Sammy, I asked, have you guys ever had a fire hydrant on a well before? And I don't know that we had an answer to that.
I did a little research, not that I'm aware of, not here in South Walton.
Would you even have enough pressure?
You could possibly, you'd have to mechanically supply that, but most of the hydrants that are here come in from the water system, or water users' main lines. So.
Right. Yeah, and I was a little surprised that Regional didn't have service there and didn't really have a program to get service. It's a pretty big VMU center there to not have water, so of course, like I said, we're in talks with them on that one. Hopefully we'll be able to get something there and get the hydrant, but we will address that hydrant one way or the other.
Well, one of the things we do need to get from you in your application is a letter from Regional telling us whether or not service is available. That's where we look to the utility provider that has that service area, right, to tell us whether or not they can deliver service in that area.
And we have that now. We went through we started the process with the septic, with the health department. They required that also, so we do have that, and I'll get that.
What about the well? The well either be permitted by us, the health department, or the Department of Environmental Protection?
Right, that would also probably go through the health department. I mean, until we get a contractor lined up, I understand the well contractors have to do those permits, so until we get that contractor lined up, we'll have an abandonment of an existing non-potable well, and then a new potable well if we go forward with that and don't do the main extension.
What was the nature of the engineering comments you received?
from Public Works yesterday.
Yes.
Addressing the 2 access points, the water main issue, and I don't recall right the third.
The third one was providing plans for roadway improvements from, I guess, 98 to the project site, since it's a commercial property.
Yeah, so Marie Drive existing is probably a 12 to 13-foot wide gravel drive currently. If they are to be required to widen that out, will extending that with crushed concrete or a lime rock base or something like that be sufficient?
It would have to meet the minimum standards of Chapter 5.
I'm not aware if we really have specific standards for asphalt in Chapter 5, though.
I think there's some construction standards in Chapter 5, but I'd have to go and look to be specific.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'll do the same.
that's a conversation we can have on
Okay.
on your alternatives. But-
Surface course.
Yeah.
Mac, isn't there a minimum perimeter landscape buffer required for?
Typically there is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what I brought up. There, the buffer would also be required on the northern part, like we spoke on the last property that that Curtis did. It was same policy, L-1-10-3.
One of the things, and I'm not sure if this was noted as a comment, we're showing a septic tank drain field in the setback. If that's not a comment, that needs to be. And ideally, this commercial development needs to be on sewer, which would make that go away. But that cannot be there the way it's drawn.
Septic cannot be in the setback.
Drain field cannot. That's a structure, and you can't put a structure in the setback. We just couldn't approve that. We have any other questions from the dais?
One other question on the north buffer. You see that on the plan there, we have some gravel parking spaces where the corners would clip that landscape buffer if we were to have a 10-foot landscape buffer there. Something we were brainstorming yesterday was if we were to utilize grass paver parking, a true grass paver system that has the polyethylene cells with grass infill, would that be sufficient to clip into those landscape buffers?
Can't use landscape buffer for parking or any other structure.
Given that I've also been in talks with another gentleman who's buying a parcel in this specific VMU center on these really small lots here that were probably in the 60s, I believe, originally done as residential lots, but since then have been put into VMU. Some of them have been combined, some of them haven't. The landscape buffers do prove to be a challenge with these small lots if commercial development goes on here. So I guess my question is there any other avenue to handle the landscape buffer issue on just this VMU center as a whole, given the very small nature of these lots? When we really do the math on it, each of these lots, if commercial development were to go on them, it can take up to 20% of the land just to have a landscape buffer on it.
And it could be these lots are too small for commercial development. It may take 2 of those lots to do what you're trying to do.
Right. My question.
This was not originally platted as a commercial subdivision. It was platted as a residential subdivision.
That's correct.
And at some point, BMU got applied long before any of us were up here. I can't explain why that's BMU, but it is.
Right.
And that's the category we've got to live with. There are lots of record out there who are entitled to one single-family home, so you're likely to have a single-family home developed next door. And we got to have the buffer.
Is there an avenue for adjacent property owners there to come together, possibly as a master plan or some sort of, something like that to address the buffers?
Planning and development would be a method to address that. But we can't have a one-lot PUD. We don't do those anymore.
You have any questions?
It's just not big enough. What you might need to do is look at 2 of those lots.
Oh, we actually have 2 now. That's what this is. That
maybe 3 then. It just doesn't look like you got enough land to do what you're trying to do.
You have any questions?
Now, eliminating the well and the septic tank is going to help you.
Sure, yeah, and that, we're pursuing that, definitely.
But that's a cost also.
Sure. The only other question, I guess, was the second access from Public Works, that specific comment.
Well, that's the driveway separation that they're speaking to.
Yeah, so the second one was more of a loading zone for trash pickup, things like that. It wasn't really intended on being a regular vehicle use. And I haven't read through the Land Development Code since I got this comment. I just got them late yesterday, I believe, to see what the intent of that was. But for something like this, that's not a regular access point, but really there for a maintenance type situation, is that not permissible in any way?
We have not viewed it that way in the past. You're allowed, I think you're a little under 300 linear foot, which allows you 1 access point. So that would include any loading or unloading. That would have to be all on their site.
Okay. Given that these are 2 parcels, that wouldn't apply, since they're 2 parcels that we're developing on?
Yeah, but you're combining it into one development. So we look at one site plan, and your combined frontage. If you want to look at it in 2 parcels, then we got to look at buffers on each parcel. And that sort of defeats that idea. Because now you have new requirements that you don't have now. That gets you the driveway, but you wouldn't have room for the rest.
Okay.
You want to regroup on this one in the next 30 days?
Yeah, I think we'll regroup with you on this one to see what we can come up with. It looks like the landscape buffer is the only major item we really need to address here. If I do the water and sewer, everything else is addressed, pretty much. I've got an avenue to address all that. So
I see what we can do in the next couple of weeks, and we can further discuss it to see how we might fit that in. But given the uncertainty we've got right now and the changes that do need to be made, I would recommend we give this some time and continue it to the next TRC meeting.
you're all right with that? I think that's really the best course. Okay.
Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We'll take this opportunity to entertain any technical comments or questions from any member of the audience related to this item. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item at this time? Seeing none, we have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
opposed likewise? This item carries. It will be continued to the July 11th Technical Review Committee at 8:30 a.m. in this room. Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to item number 16, the Santa Rosa Retreat plat. Request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Bob Ferranti. Bob, if you'll briefly introduce this one for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a plat application submitted by Gustin, Cawthorn, and Tucker Incorporated on behalf of Lard Point Investors LLC, requesting approval to plat 10 lot single-family subdivision on 2.51 plus or minus acres for future land use of low-density residential. The project is located off of Highway 393 east into Seacroft Drive, approximately 3.3 miles. The project is on the south side of the road and is identified by the parcel number in the staff report. There are just minor comments made. I've included the fees that would be due before the recording of the plat and have notified the applicant. So I see the applicant is here, so I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you. I'm Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. I'm actually just sitting in for Gustin, Cawthorn, and Tucker. I didn't see anybody here. I was the engineer for the project and have kind of been coordinating with them on getting the plat done. I believe they've addressed all the comments and are ready to move to Mylar. All of the improvements and infrastructure have already been completed and certified by all the state and county folks that review it. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I think this one's pretty well at the end.
Any questions of the dais? This item will have a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners. We'll take this opportunity to invite any technical questions or comments from any member of our audience related to this case. Compliance with Chapter 177 of the Development Order or the Land Development Code process.
Will this go to planning first?
Pardon me?
Will this go to planning?
No, ma'am. Plats do not go to planning, they go straight to the Board of County Commissioners. That's the one item we have that skips that step. Recommend a motion?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion to conditionally approve the plat pending successful resubmittal. Once the comments have been addressed, we will ask for the Mylar and schedule it for the BCC meeting.
Make sure we get the planning director's signature block updated, please.
Yes, that was one of the comments.
Okay. We have a recommended motion. We have a motion of the dais.
Bob, have I submitted plans or review on this?
You don't review plats. But your answer is no.
Fair enough.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
This item will move to the Board of County Commissioners, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments. And this is just making sure. Okay, this moves us to item number 17. This is the Beachside Estates plat. Request to approve by final plat. It's been reviewed by Bob Barante. Bob, if you could briefly introduce this one for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a plat application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of CBHIV LLC, requesting approval to plat 4 lots on 3.11 plus or minus acres with future land use of neighborhood infill. The project is located just south of the intersection of Sandroy Road and Beachside Drive. There are some minor comments that can be addressed in resubmittal, and also the fees due before platting have been added to the staff's report. And the applicant is here to address any comments you may have.
Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. We've received the staff report and, or staff comments, and we will respond promptly and hopefully get on the next Board of County Commissioners agenda for this one.
Do we actually have a copy of the proposed plat in the package?
Yes, it was, it might not have been copied. Yes, it's right here, sir.
That's the site and geometry plan from the development order.
Oh, I grabbed the wrong, I'm sorry.
Bob, let's take just a moment and get the actual plat, the preliminary plat. I don't think we can move this forward without having seen that.
Yes, sir.
Just like the opportunity for the TRC members at the dais to actually get to look at this particular plat. Recognizing that we've had the opportunity to provide written comments, just want to make sure that our public record is complete.
And the plat does meet the less than minor changes that were made to the DL.
Dedication. Comments, we need a homeowners association entity.
Correct. We are currently, we received these comments, I'd say about a week or so ago, and we have contacted the owner. He's getting with his attorney to provide those documents.
Okay. Pass that back to Bob.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chair. That was my fault.
Just want to note for the record that in the staff report, it does recognize the need for a homeowners association and for the covenants and restrictions to be submitted. So those are outstanding comments. This item will receive a public hearing at the Board of County Commissioners. We'll take this opportunity to invite any technical questions or comments from any member of the audience that wishes to speak on this item. Any technical questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the recommended motion, Bob.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal and addressing of the comments, and then at that time, we'll move the ILR to the BCC for their consideration.
Thank you, Bob. We got a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Seeing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments to the Board of County Commissioners. This brings us to item number 18, Kayed the Muse, a request to approve by a minor development order. It's been reviewed by Bob Barante. Bob, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
This application is being submitted by Jenkins Engineering on behalf of SBG-PR LLC, requesting approval to develop 10 townhomes on 2.58 plus or minus acres with the future land use of traditional neighborhood development. The project is located at 126 Watersound Parkway South and is identified by parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, you may remember this is the exact same staff report that you considered last month. There were some errors in the application. We were given the overall address instead of the address that they've been used for construction, and the same with the parcel. So these changes have been made. There will be there's no new comments generated by that. These are same comments you reviewed, and I believe the applicant is working to address those as we speak. We just wanted to make sure this went through cleanly since those errors were on the staff report. So the applicant is here. I'd like to turn it over to the applicant if he has any questions.
Yeah, Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. We don't have any questions. We've actually already addressed the comments based on being approved at the last meeting, and we're just planning on moving forward once this is done.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
We have a recommended motion.
I'd like to make a motion to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal and then issuing the DO.
Thank you, Bob. This is a minor development order, so it will not go to the Board of County Commissioners or the Planning Commission, so we're going to take the opportunity to open a public hearing. And at this time, we'll invite any public comments related to this particular application. Is anyone wishing to speak? Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah, I just want to bring it before the panel here. This is when I spoke to y'all a while ago about the Strand, which is the property on the south side of the road. When they were getting this approved, which is the Muse on the north side of the road, they physically had the south side parcel number mixed up with the north side parcel number and the project. I mean, I just can't understand how anything like that could happen. It was 2 or 3 different things, not only the parcel numbers, but the project numbers and everything were mixed up to where it was almost like by approving the Muse, you were approving whatever might be going on the Strand. And nobody saw that until I brought it to the attention of the county. The Muse, this brings up kind of what I was talking about a while ago. The Strand, which was approved, I guess, back on July of this year, of last year, July 2017, that's the Strand that we're talking about, which is project number 17-001-00089. And then I look at the project that y'all have today that y'all are approving for the Strand that I brought up a while ago. And it's project number PLA 18-000015. And I'm asking, is that the way y'all do? Every time you do something, do you change the project number?
Yes, sir.
You do?
Yes, sir. Each application gets a new project number. And the one you're referring to was a plat application for the Strand.
Okay, so.
And this one has a new project number, and you may notice a little bit of a different construction of that project number. In the middle of the development of this particular application, which has gone through for a few years, the county has moved to a new software system called CitizenServe. to make our records much more accessible and transparent. And as part of that transition to a new system, we've created a new hierarchy for naming of projects in that system that becomes an alphanumeric project number now. But each application gets its own separate project number.
So basically what you're telling me is the strand of July 5th, 2017 is the strand of today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other technical comments or questions, or any question whatsoever, since this is an open public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have a recommended motion, Bob?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend my motion. I'd like to ask a two-step motion to remove the approval of last month's application and approve this one conditionally pending successful resubmittal of the comments.
We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Seeing none, this item is recommended for approval, and we'll move to development order subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to number 19, the Sandestin Owners Association Pool Number 2 renovations. This is a request to approve by minor development order. It's been reviewed by Renee Bradley. And Renee, if you would briefly introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a minor development order application submitted by Interlight Engineering on behalf of Sandestin Owners Association, requesting approval to renovate Pool Number 2 facilities at Sandestin on approximately 1.9 acres. Future land use of Coastal Center. The land use per the Sandestin DRI is club. The project is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Heron Walk Drive and Baytown Avenue East. I would like to call out there's a couple of errors in the staff report that will get corrected. One, I believe I didn't change the commission district, and the location on the side is not correct, so this is some minor errors that I need to correct. And additionally, the map in the back is incorrect, so I have the site plan here for the committee to be able to look at. And I want to apologize when we get those corrected for you. Can I pass this around to you?
Yes, you would. Thank you, Renee.
Additionally, the main issue that we've had with this project would be from floodplain manager and staff comments on this being in a floodplain and these buildings meeting those requirements. We have some other minor comments from planning. There is some engineering comments outstanding. I don't see that this is anything that the applicant can address. This is like a 1970 pool facility that's being renovated out at Sandestin, so we didn't have an existing development order. Why this development order is required to be a minor at this time, and I'll be turning it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Renee, and you are correct. This would typically rise to the level of a less than minor development order since it involves amenities or infrastructure, but because we don't have anything to amend, it has to be a minor development. Comments from the applicant?
Thank you. I'm David Smith with Interlight Engineering, and I'm here with Tom Cooper with the Sandestin Owners Association. And as Renee stated, the comments are minor. It has a proposed restroom facility, so we'll raise that to be consistent with the floodplain requirements, but it is a restroom facility. And then, as she stated, it's a renovation to an existing pool. So we're just placing a pool back where there's a pool currently today. So all the comments are minor. We can certainly address those, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you, David. Do we have any questions from the dais?
Did you receive my comments?
I have not.
I don't think I have either. At least I haven't seen them. I didn't get it this morning, but I was en route. It was this morning.
It may have gone out yesterday or the day before.
Just double check. And I'll forward it to David if I have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, David and Renee. Since this is a minor development, we're going to take the opportunity to open up a public hearing and invite any comments of any nature from any member of our audience related to this particular application. Would anybody care to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the recommended motion.
I'd like to recommend that we move this project forward to the development order stage once all comments have been satisfied.
Thank you, Renee. We've got a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Seeing none, this item is recommended for approval, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that'll bring us to item number 19. And I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this one. I'm sorry, number 20. I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this one right. Renee, can you introduce this one and properly pronounce it for us?
I will try. La Petite Creperie.
La Petite
Creperie. All right. Thank you. We should have had Dean do it.
I've been practicing.
Yeah, we probably need a phonetic spelling submittal on this one.
And if y'all need to see the site plan on this one too, I forgot to put the site plan in my staff report. My apologies. This is a minor development order application submitted by Dean Burgess on behalf of Seaside Community Development Corporation, requesting to install a 175 square foot Airstream trailer to be used as a walk-up food service on 1.43 acres. The project is located at the northwest corner of Central Square and Highway 30A intersection. This will be north of 30A. The current land use is residential preservation, however, is commercial per the Town of Seaside Master Plan. We have very minor comments on this project. Basically just need some more clarification on what's on the overall site. Engineering didn't seem to have any additional questions. We did have fire comments and there's nothing there. Environmental was pretty clear. Nothing required. So like I said, very minor planning comments. So I will turn it over to the applicant at this time.
Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. I've read through the staff comments, and we feel as though we can respond to them very quickly. And they're straightforward comments. I didn't have any questions or discussion. We would seek the board's approval to move this forward to development order following the response to those comments.
Thank you, Dean. This is a minor development order application, so we will take the opportunity to open up a public hearing at this time and invite any questions or comments of any nature related to this particular project from any member of our audience. Would anyone wish to speak on this particular item?
With no comments, sir, we would request that we move this project forward to the development order stage once all comments have been satisfied.
Thank you, Renee. We'll close the public hearing. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved subject to comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This brings us to item number 21, which is the last item on our agenda this morning. It's a minor development order application that has been reviewed by Renee Bradley. Renee, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, sir. This is a minor development order application submitted by Dewberry on behalf of Freeport Industries Incorporated, requesting approval to develop a 1,814 square foot general store, gas station on 2 plus or minus acres with future land use of general agriculture. This project is located at 5485 US Highway 331 North and is identified by the parcel number in your project. We do have some outstanding comments on this project. There's a few on planning. Additionally, I would be requesting that they at least do an environmental letter for the disturbed site. I realize that the whole site's been disturbed, but we still need some kind of letter for that in the file. There is some engineering comments outstanding, and we are pending a revised traffic analysis for the traffic. I think from planning standpoint, I did have some concerns on the calculation of the parking with the existing pumps, and I would like to see a recalculation done on the site plan for that. With that said, I'd be glad to turn it over to the applicant.
Alyssa Pettis with Dewberry. We've read through the comments, and we'll get those addressed and resubmitted.
Thank you. Do we have any questions at the dais on this particular application? This is a minor development order application, so we will take the opportunity to open up a public hearing and invite any questions of any kind from the public related to this particular case. Would anyone like to make a comment or question?
I just have a easy question. Is this north or south of 20?
This is north of Defuniak Springs. It's the old Bobby Jean store that's up near Kings Lake on North US 331. It's the redevelopment of a country store gas station that's probably been there for 60 years maybe.
Mac, the only thing I have is to request I recuse myself from this item prior to voting.
Okay. We'll note that in the record. As this is a Dewberry application. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a
Yes, sir. We recommend we move in this project forward if all comments have been satisfied prior to getting the development order, being it's a minor development.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this motion is carried and it will move to development order subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments. Thank you very much. That concludes our agenda this morning, and we'll stand adjourned.